Okay, here we go. So, Magnus, what brought you to the session today, and what did you think of it?
I love this session today. It was a collection of people that are dedicated to what's going on with urban entrepreneurship. It felt very focused. It felt very goal-oriented. There was just an amazing exchange of ideas, and I just really get the sense that the people that I met today, people that met each other, are going to keep the conversation going. I think Michael Blake and his team seem very committed to setting up some goals and making sure that those goals are achieved. So it felt pretty amazing, and some inspiring people that were talking today as well. I think for me personally and for our business, just being able to meet the various different people and organizations that are focused, on the same, on a similar approach that we are, and just the need for us to work collaboratively, because there's overlap, there's gaps, but I just think that together, if there's a number of groups that if we work together, we can kind of create a really great, complete system. And then I think there's a real need to be able to communicate that in a very simple way to the community, to the people that need to tap into the various services that are available. Because I just think it's just a bit too disjointed, especially as you know from the marketing and the outreach point of view. I just think that we can all do a better job of that. So it goes both ways.
Well, you've been doing some exciting things with your company. Tell people about your company and the way that works.
So 100 Urban Entrepreneurs is really dedicated to entrepreneurship at the earliest stage, meaning at the idea stage, the part of the process where people are telling you that you're crazy and don't really want to put money into it or offer much support. 100 Urban Entrepreneurs is providing startup capital and mentorship, networking opportunities, tools, resources, everything that we can to take those ideas and help turn them into real companies. So each person in the program, all 100 people each will get $10,000 in startup capital. But we don't just give it to them as a check, and it comes with mentorship, which means that $10,000 is more like getting $100,000. Because if we just gave a young entrepreneur $10,000, they would spend it on what they thought with their more limited experience, what they thought was best. But working with us through the 8-week program, all the various different stages of building a business, that helps. But then having to ask and then get our advice and see where you can, maybe we can get something cheaper. Maybe we will advise you that that's not the best place to be spending your money. So we've found that $10,000 is more than enough to get a good idea off the ground to the point of proving it as a business. Once people get through the program, those that have a great business that needs to go to the next level, we're then there to help take them and introduce them to other forms of capital as well.
You mentioned something earlier too. You said that you don't take an equity stake in the business?
No, we don't. We don't. All we ask for in return is that the person who's receiving the capital documents their journey, whether that's via blog, social media, traditional press, whether it's opportunities that we find for them or ones that they create for themselves. We want them to document their journey, share what they're learning, sharing what the ups and downs, to again further demystify the process and have more people start their journey of becoming an entrepreneur. And having, we're trying to fund and help 100 people, which we think, that's quite a lot of people. But there's hundreds of thousands or millions of people that need the information and advice. So it's through documenting that journey that we can try and help, and give assistance to more than just the 100 people that make it into the program.
Well, how you got involved with this project?
Okay, my name is Lucas Riggins, and I got involved with 100 UE with Magnus, mainly because in my community there's so many young people I see being arrested at the age of 14 years old and going to juvenile detention centers. Some of them are getting killed or involved in gangs. And these guys have better ideas than Facebook, LinkedIn, Apple, but there's just no resources in these communities. There's no centers that can bring those ideas to fruition and encourage these young people to keep creating more ideas and becoming successful. So just me pretty much being frustrated with the actual what's going on in my community is us becoming the consumer only and not the creator of a lot of the companies that are being started. And that's when I reached out to Magnus, and the rest is history.
And did you guys were you business partners before? Were you in business, or what brought you both together?
Actually, I just read about Magnus in the magazine, and I was just blown away on how the story was written, on how him and a couple of buddies of his just created an idea, and they sold it for umpteen amount of millions of dollars, and I was like, wow, everybody in my community has ideas. You know what I mean? And so that's what really made me reach out to him, and it took me a while to pretty much find a source of way of getting in contact to him. So I found did a lot of research. I found a corporate email address on him, and I didn't think that would go through, because when you're that successful in the magnitude that he was at and where he is, they don't really get the personal emails because of so many gatekeepers. But I just Hail Married it anyway, and lo and behold, a month later, I get a call from him saying, hey,
Absolutely, and the email that he sent me was it was very passionate, and it just very clearly outlined a problem, and Luke had a solution that he proposed, and I just love small business. I love startups. I've been through that process so many times myself, that when Luke pointed out that in his community where he grew up, that there were so many ideas that just weren't given the opportunity to become companies, to fulfill their potential. At first, I just didn't really even understand it. I mean, I was fortunate enough to grow up not in any kind of, extremely amazing circumstance, but just in a place where you were always just told that if you followed the steps, you could be successful. So when Luke kind of pointed out that fundamental belief was not, and infrastructure was not available in his community, I came out to New York and met Luke, and he really opened my eyes, and so we've been on this amazing journey ever since.
So Magnus, where did you grow up?
I grew up in Canada. I grew up in Vancouver.
Okay.
And then in London.
Okay. And Luke?
South Jamaica, Queens.
Okay. So this is like a diversity story.
Yeah, pretty much.
Two very different places.
Far away. A lot of things is funny because, a lot of my passion and my frustration, sometimes I have to continuously explain to him, and, he just doesn't, get it, not negatively, but just being from two different worlds. And, a lot of my frustration comes from, I see conferences like this and so many organizations that are put in place to help us as a people, but, still, my community looks the same as it looked since I was 10 years old.
Luke and I have different reference points to kind of, to begin with, but we're both entrepreneurs, and
Right.
And entrepreneurs in his neighborhood are the same essentially as entrepreneurs in my neighborhood or any neighborhood. You know what I mean? And so it's just kind of that infrastructure that makes a difference. You know what I mean? Is there a system in place? Are there people to encourage you? Is there capital that's available? Are there mentors? That's the difference between people becoming successful in business and not becoming successful, especially at the earliest stages.
And one of the amazing things about just being in business with Magnus and a lot of his wealthy friends is just being able to have a conversation with them about business is it's amazing. And the problem is in our communities is that these young people, they feel afraid to approach like a Russell Simmons or Oprah Winfrey or Jay-Z or any of these guys. They'll see those guys, and the last thing they'll do is run up on them because these guys got a barrier around them, you know what I mean? And I should not have to go way over to Vancouver to get someone to invest in my community when you have tons of wealthy organizations and people right around the corner, but just doesn't give us the time of day. Oh man, we've probably been at this,
Almost 4 years?
4 years, 4 years. Just going back and forth, with getting it off the ground, but officially launching a year. You know what I mean? Just trying to build the infrastructure has been about 3 years, going back and forth. One of the most rewarding things is when we do an event just hearing young people, seeing the tears in their eyes on how inspiring it is, and just knowing that this is available, even the people who don't get funded from us, just hearing them saying, you know what, just knowing that you guys exist is just enough for me to just say, go home and just rethink my plan or recreate my strategy. That's been the most rewarding for me, actually. It really touches me in an emotional way, just knowing that I'm a part of something that people love and that people get emotional about, you know, when we do show up.
Magnus, what about for you?
Yeah, you know, it's like Luke says, when you get in that environment, you know, when we go on the road and go on these pitch events and you interact with people, especially in different communities, and you see, you know, the obstacles that they face, you know, in that particular location. But for me, it's when somebody comes up and says, you know, I've had this idea in my head for a long time. I didn't think there was any point in trying to write a plan, and I didn't even know how to. But when I heard you guys were coming to town, I finally did it. You know, so to know that, and these are people that aren't even winning, you know, they are being selected into the program. But just to know that, you know, Luke and I and Dan and all of our partners have accomplished what we wanted, which was to break down the barriers, the obstacles, to make this as approachable as possible, and make people realize, you know what, this whole process isn't as scary as I feared it would be. You know, that we're making it a lot more accessible to people. I think that, and when we get that feedback, that's definitely the most rewarding thing for me.
You used the word earlier, demystify.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a real big part of the problem, is that, you know, there's this, you know, becoming successful in business, okay, there's tricky elements to it, but I think sometimes the media, or, you know, there's just such a overwhelming amount of information. Sometimes people just don't want you to succeed. You don't know which information to take. There's just, you know, it just gets so confusing. So we try to provide a really simple, clear plan, and we show the success that people have had with that clear plan, and hopefully that starts ripping down a lot of the elements that are kind of preventing you from getting involved. And that's why we say we want to demystify the process. It's not, okay, it's not easy, but it's certainly not as hard as a lot of people would try to make you believe it is. It's not impossible.
What would you say have been the biggest challenges that when people come to you, like, what are there some things that you would say these are we hear this over and over as the biggest challenges that the potential entrepreneur faces?
I think the common problems from the point of view of the entrepreneurs that we meet is the lack of capital, the lack of support, the lack of, you know, and support comes at all levels. You know, support in terms of mentorship, support in terms of people buying their products, support in terms of, you know, marketing, press, media, press coverage, you know, all sorts of things. And I think from our point of view, you know, some of the frustrations we find is we just want people to understand, come with something simple and be willing to prove it on a small scale. Forget all the distractions, forget all the global domination, forget all that craziness. Have a simple idea that is a solution to a simple problem. Let's prove it together on a very small scale, and then let's grow it from there.
Someone's watching, they want to get involved. What's their next step?
Log on, go to www.100urbanoentrepreneurs.org, and you will see amazing testimonies and stories from all the people that we funded thus far. You'll see how to submit your idea. You'll find out what city we're going to be in next, to do a pitch competition. Just get involved. Just shoot us an email. I respond to every email. So.
Are you guys doing any social media? You on any of that?
Yeah.
Twitter or Facebook? Any of those things?
Yeah, you can find us on Facebook. You can also find us on Twitter.
Let's start with you first, Magnus. Closing remarks of advice you would give the folks.
Yeah, you know, I think I'm pretty excited today. You know, I think there's a lot of people, a lot of organizations, and even a lot of money that is being put towards, you know, urban entrepreneurs. And I think we just have to find a way to make it very easy for people to know about and to access. You know, so I think, and people should be encouraged that there's a lot of smart people out there that are thinking about this, and there's a movement happening. There's there's something going on that I think is going to benefit a lot of people.
Yeah, I just want to say, you know, continuously as an urban entrepreneur, man, you got to continuously fight. You cannot give up. You cannot slow down. You cannot get frustrated. You must maintain your ground and continuously do all that you need to do to try to succeed. You cannot place all your eggs in the basket as far as a job is concerned. You must take matters into your own hands and try to be as entrepreneurially savvy as you possibly can. You can come to us. We're always around. We're always available. Also, we're going to be in Boston in July at the National Urban League Conference doing a pitch competition where we will fund 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 individuals. So if you are around, if you can get down to Boston, that is our next stop.
What's a pitch competition? What goes on? Explain that.
The pitch competition is a 60-second pitch that's delivered live in front of 3 judges and an audience. And so people, like for instance with the Urban League event that's happening in Boston, people will come to the website, submit their plans. We usually get quite a lot of people doing that. We will then select about 15 people that'll come, deliver 60 seconds, and that 60 seconds is they got to tell us what the business is, how they're going to make money, how they're going to run it, why they're uniquely qualified to be the person to do it, and how they would use that $10,000. And it's an amazing experience, not only for the people that are up there giving the pitch, but also for everyone in the audience as they watch, you know, what makes a good pitch, you know, what, and then the feedback from the judges. It's an incredible, and again, it just goes more towards demystifying that process. It makes it really real, and everybody gets something out of it. It's my favorite thing to do.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's incredible to watch because I see so many people come to our pitch competitions, and at the end of it, so many people line up and say, "Wow, I studied all last night preparing. I was in the car with my significant other, my sister, mother, or brother, practicing and preparing, and I got on stage in front of all those people, and I didn't say anything I rehearsed." So I get it. I understand it. I need to go back and regroup and replan. So it's fantastic, man, because you'll be surprised. Some of the most amazing ideas don't win. It'd be the worst ideas that win, and that's because they come prepared. They show up ready and willing and prepared to deliver, and they deliver. So
that's your tip. Be prepared.
Be prepared.
Always.
Always. Be prepared. You never know what you're going to bump into. You never know where you're going to be.
Have that sexy. Never stop pitching. I mean,
Yeah.
I probably pitched 100 urban entrepreneurs about 100 times today. You know, and I'll pitch it at the airport tonight. I'll pitch it wherever. You know, so this, you know, it's real life. A 60-second pitch competition is real life.
Well, look, this is Norm Bond signing off. I want to thank both of you. I'm very excited about connecting. When y'all coming to Philly?
You know what? You know what? I'm looking to get to Philly, man.
So,
because
okay.
what we do is we do the city challenge.
Okay.
So if Philly has enough entrepreneurs that want us to come to Philly and do a pitch competition,
They got to tell us.
they got to tell us. And the city needs to get involved because we do the city challenge. The city challenge is we're going to come into your city and do a competition and fund at least 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 people. So our challenge to the city is what is the city prepared to do?
I like it. All right, so we put together, we're going to get that'll be on our next interview. We're going to get that together.
And they match us.
And I like it, a challenge. So if the city is ready for you, you're
That's
ready
right.
for the
We're
city.
ready.
If the city is about urban entrepreneurship and they really want to help, get with the local brands, organization, banks in your community,
We're coming.
and come match us. Let's go.
And they need to bring how many entrepreneurs to the table?
Oh man,
How many are there?
we'll do promotion. We'll do promotion, and I'm pretty sure Philly will come out because I know there's tons of entrepreneurs out in Philly.
Okay, and so then that goes for any of the major markets. If the major markets
No, major markets, minor markets, doesn't matter.
doesn't matter.
Wherever
Okay,
entrepreneurs are.
We there.
I love it.
It could be on the back block of 23rd and Diamond. We'll do it right there.
Think about 23rd Diamond. That's North Philly. North Philly, stand up. All right, thank you both. All right, this has been great. Keep it where you got it.